So basically, instead of immediately introducing us to our main characters, the season opens with an incredibly unnecessary flashback to a completely fabricated event that doesn't exist in the original show and is filled with so much expository dialogue that it's actually painful to watch.
An earthbender!
Luckily for us, the horrible inorganic expositions aren't exclusive to this flashback because later on we get this masterpiece.
Most of them had just arrived for the Great Comet Festival.
The Great Comet Festival.
Grand?
Wait for it!
Water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop them. But when the world needed him most, he vanished. And so the Fire Nation...
Then, instead of having the intro be narrated by Katara as a way to give us some much needed insight into the psyche of one of our main characters, while simultaneously and organically introducing her backstory, the intro is now narrated by Avatar Kyoshi, a character who is canonically dead within the series and has no real emotional attachment or significance to Aang or any of our main characters. Not sure why we're skipping over Avatar Roku, Aang's spiritual mentor throughout the entire show for the sake of propping up Kyoshi, a character he interacted with maybe 3 times in the entirety of the show, but okay. Instead of immediately warning Aang about Sozin's comments like Avatar Roku did during their first encounter, Kyoshi just tells Aang he needs to get strong, figure it out all by himself, then proceeds to pointlessly shout at him for disappearing for 100 years, even though that was an entirely unplanned accident, and scolding him for it right now serves absolutely no purpose. After the first unnecessary flashback, we get another even longer, fully fleshed out, pointless 15-minute flashback scene that honestly could have just been 20 seconds long like it was in the animation. And it wasn't even a harmless flashback like the first one because it completely nullifies the need for his iconic glider by instantly and foolishly giving him the ability to fly. So now you're just going to be perpetually confused whenever you see him using the glider. There's no longer any blatant misogyny from Sokka towards his sister or the Kyoshi warriors, so I guess his toxic masculinity was completely expunged before we had a chance to properly challenge and address it. When Aang finds Gyato's cadaver, the show takes away Katara's agency by just having her stand around doing nothing while Aang calms himself down. In the animation, it was Katara's loving words about her and Sokka being his new family and her touch that snapped him out of the Avatar state. By giving Aang the ability to calm himself down by scrolling through a few memories, you take away that deep connection Katara has with him as his lightning rod who literally grounds him to reality. So, when this scene rolls around in book 2, it's not going to mean anything. You know, now that I think about it, the show went to extreme lengths just to completely remove any essence of romance between Aang and Katara. Aang doesn't fall in love with her at first sight anymore, they don't go penguin sledding together, the fortune teller episode is completely gone, they don't get trapped together in the cave of two lovers storyline, he doesn't show off to Katara on the giant koi fish, Katara doesn't get jealous of Aang at Kyoshi's island, they don't train waterbending together. All these tiny little important moments that led to them eventually falling in love are all just gone. Why? Instead of Aang going to Kyoshi Island or Omashu because he's a kid who wants to ride a giant koi fish and ride giant rock slides while showing off to the girl he likes, Netflix decided to turn him into a thief who stole Zuko's journal, which he follows to Kyoshi's Island because he wants power, and then he ends up in Omashu completely by accident. Instead of making Admiral Zhao a formidable adversary to Zuko both psychologically and physically like he was in the animation, Netflix decided to turn him into a quivering, backstabbing, scared little coward who wouldn't know the meaning of assertive if it kicked him in the face. Having a fully grown and decorated military commander turned admiral be controlled by a teenage girl has to be one of the top 10 worst mistakes ever made by Netflix. Then, instead of slowly teasing the audience with silhouettes, shadows, and incomplete half shots of Firelord Ozai's face for the sake of building up the tension, mystery, and danger around the main antagonist of the series like it did in the animation, Netflix just foolishly decided to spoil his full face reveal in the second episode. Ugh. Changing wise old King Bumi from a kind, loving friend who puts Aang through challenges for the sake of teaching him to think outside the box and preparing him for his duties as the Avatar, to a resentful old man who makes fun of the Air Nomad genocide, doesn't care about the incoming genocide of the Northern Water Tribe, scolds, bullies, and flat out attacks Aang for accidentally getting stuck in an iceberg, was definitely a strange choice, Netflix, but Okay. Doing the secret love tunnel storyline without Aang and Katara just takes away from the core theme of the very story you're trying to tell and completely erases a core moment in the Aang and Katara romantic subplot. Also, I don't think substituting romantic sexual tension between two lovers with fraternal sibling love between a brother and a sister is a good idea. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy that thinks thematically implied incest is super weird. Anyway, it doesn't really make any sense for Mei and Ty Lee to just be standing around Azula all the time doing nothing when she doesn't have a mission for them. They're all basically adults with their own fully fleshed out lives. Mei should be with her family posing as the perfect obedient little child to help her father's political career. Ty Lee should be at the circus trying her hardest to differentiate herself from all her identical sisters. And Azula should not be stressing out over being envious of Zuko's achievements. She is objectively better than him strategically, physically and psychologically. Pointlessly cutting back to her in the Fire Nation aimlessly having panic attacks about Zuko impressing your dad is not how you should introduce the fiercest female character in this universe. And having her hand the Yu Yang archers to Zhao on a silver platter instead of having him fight for them like he did in the animation is not good. Me no likey. Me no likey. Watching Aang struggle to escape from Zhao like he did in the animation is so funny because bro can literally fly now.
They fly now? They fly now!
And he's strong enough to lift two giant rocks above his head. He can just fly and carry Zuko with airbending while we're still pretending like he needs a bunch of sticks to escape. It's kinda crazy how throughout the entirety of season 1, originally titled Book 1 Water in the animation, Aang did not learn a single drop of water bending. Neither did we see even an iota of romantic attraction between him and Katara. Also, we got like no resolution for the Spirit of the Forest storyline. They just co-opted Heibai's plotline, gave it to a significantly less interesting version of Ko, and just never mentioned Heibai again. I mean, he legitimately has nothing to do with missing villagers now. Netflix just reduced him to a gratuitous, inconsequential 1-minute cameo in his own story for literally no reason. And bro. If you now feed off the fear and anguish of lost souls for some reason, why exactly are you still stealing their faces? It doesn't make any sense! I also don't know what Netflix is trying to say, but this new obsession with the avatars berating Aang for having close friends and this insistence on relieving Aang of his bodily autonomy in order to control the avatar state is so weird, man.
Except she was able to take control. She could channel the power through my body. She was in control. You can do that.
It's so weird. And what's even weirder is the fact that Aang's airbending is strong enough to help him fly, lift multiple heavy giant rocks way above his head for extended periods of time, destroy giant fireballs speeding towards him, and blow away entire armies of fully grown men. But for some reason, it's not strong enough to quickly carry a small, minuscule, tiny little fish and drop it back in the water. Neither is he powerful enough to simultaneously save the fish and immobilize one cowardly old man. I don't know about you guys, but I just personally find that kinda weird. Now, in spite of my many criticisms, the show isn't entirely horrendous. The set designs are ethereal, the costumes are fabulously accurate to the source material, the CGI for both the creatures and the bending are incredibly well done, the cinematography and overall world building are both phenomenally fantastic, and I love how they stay true to Uncle Iroh's character by finding new ways to showcase his love for Zuko.
Go! Save yourself!
What?
For the Fire Nation! Everything I need is on this boat.
It's just unfortunate that its negatives far outweigh its positives. It also simply can't be overstated that Book 1 Water is over and the Avatar still hasn't learned a single drop of water bending. Anyway, that's it. Subscribe Patreon, give money. Thank you.